With spring finally upon us, you're going to need a fashionable yet functional crocheted cardigan. So I'm sharing what I consider to be the 5 easiest crochet cardigans to create, and I've also put them in order of which is the easiest and quickest to the hardest and most time consuming. Oh, and on the topic of crochet cardigans, I am actually going to be altering this crocheted top slash cardigan throughout this video because while I love it, it is just slightly too big. So I now get to combine two of my favorite things, doing crochet and talking about crochet. So I'm happy. All right, I've gone and changed, so let's unravel this guy and talk about some cardigans. So the first one on this list is an absolute icon in the crochet world, and that's the Hexagon cardigan. Now, I'm certain you've seen this cardigan before, either on TikTok, Instagram, and if you're my age, Facebook. Its versatility, practicality, and of course fashionality makes it an absolute crochet staple. Diving into the fashion aspect of it for a moment, Hexagon cardigans are just the perfect blend of both vintage boho and modern oversized comfort. Now, this cardigan is not on this list because of its popularity. It's on this list because it's actual crochet magic. Because this little hexagon turns into this. Crazy. So you start with your hexagon, right? And then you just make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and then fold it in half. And now you have half a cardigan. And then to complete your cardigan, you obviously make a second hexagon, and then you stitch them together. And that's why under complexity level, I put it under routine, because it's just the same pattern over and over and over again. The intensity is low, the stitches that you're using, very easy, and the time commitment, it's about 10 to 15 hours. So not bad for a wearable piece, honestly. You can have so much creative fun and expression with this piece while it's still being simplistic, and that's why it's in our #1 spot. Got the border off. Next cardigan arguably has the cutest name, which is the Cocoon cardigan. Now, some people might argue that this one is actually easier than the Hexagon cardigan. The only reason I slightly disagree with that is because the Hexagon cardigan is far more forgiving of mistakes because it's naturally more slouchy, where the Cocoon cardigan is a bit more structured. Other than that, the intensity and the complexity are pretty much the same. Oh, I got it. I thought I was gonna have to cut this knot out. All right, now that I've blabbed on as to why it's easy, let me actually show you. All you have to do, crochet one large rectangle, like this one up here, fold the ends together to make a triangle, like right here, stitch them together, and that's it. Very easy. And number 3 on this list is a personal favorite of mine. It is the 2 rectangle cardigan. What has happened here? And this is also the part where I'm just gonna share what this is in more detail and explain the changes I'm doing to it. Because it's a 2 rectangle cardigan. Woo! Well, sort of. So the construction of a 2 rectangle cardigan, very easy. You just need to make 2 rectangles and sew the back. That's it. I have no more instructions for you. So for my 2 rectangle cardigan, it is considered a 2 rectangle tank top because I sewed the back and the front. Now, I absolutely love the colors and the pattern. It's just slightly too oversized. And because it is too oversized, it does fall off my shoulders a lot, which defeats the purpose of a tank top. So the plan is to unravel the white border and then unravel about 1 inch off each side and then add a white border back again, but just much smaller, not as thick as I had it before. Now, I love 2 rectangle cardigans for a couple different reasons. One is their simplicity, and as you get better at crocheting, you can just make so many of them very quickly. The reason it's number 3 is because obviously, unlike the Cocoon cardigan, you do need 2 rectangles, so it is does take a little bit longer. But again, the complexity and the intensity, the exact same. Another reason why I love them is because fashion-wise, they just fit so well with everything. They have just this gorgeous, oversized, kind of boxy look to them, which is really in right now, so they're perfect. Ooh, ooh, I really want to throw it to Reg. Ooh. Ooh, are the inner thoughts gonna win? No, we are not going to throw things at the cat. We're not going to throw yarn at the cat because that's going to teach him that he can play with my yarn, which he can't. And fourth on this list are mesh cardigans. Now, while mesh cardigans are still easy for beginners, they are something I recommend after you've made a couple of things, like even a blanket, a hat, or a scarf, simply because they are a bit more time consuming and there are multiple pieces to them. And typically when you have a mesh cardigan, there's a lot more, obviously, spacing involved. And speaking from experience, it can just be a nightmare. You would think having more space between stitches would inherently make it easier, but it doesn't. Now, mesh cardigans is where you're actually taking the structure of a cardigan and duplicating that structure. So you do have a back panel, 2 front panels, and 2 sleeves. Now, I did put the time commitment as 10+ hours because depending on the size, maybe you want it very oversized, maybe you want a cropped version. Heck, you could even go sleeveless. That does obviously affect the time frame. And also, there are far more mesh patterns out there than hexagon cardigan patterns. I mean, obviously, a hexagon is just a hexagon. A rectangle is just a rectangle. So depending on the complexity of that pattern will affect the hours. But mesh cardigans are something I very much recommend. They are super cute. In fact, hold on one sec. I am making myself one right now. Super cute. Can't wait for it to be done. And fashion-wise, mesh cardigans just go with everything. And last but certainly not least, daisy square cardigans. Now, I have a complicated relationship with daisy squares, and in fairness, it doesn't have to be a daisy square cardigan. You can do any type of granny square cardigan you want, which I would actually recommend. From a purely technical standpoint, daisy square cardigans and granny square cardigans are simple and easy. It is just the absolute time commitment they require, and depending on what level of beginner you are at, there's a very high chance that many of your squares won't be the same size, and that is because you're still learning proper tension, stitches, so that just means more time creating more squares. And depending on the size, a granny square cardigan needs anywhere between 40 and 70 squares. Now, I have attempted to try to make a daisy square cardigan. That was probably about a year ago, and while I am faster and more skilled, I mean, you would hope, it's been a year, for me, each square took around 45 minutes, which means to create this cardigan could take 60+ hours. Now, don't let this discourage you. If you are one, simply more skilled and faster than I am, great, take it on. If you're not, if one granny square still takes you 45 minutes, but you don't care, great, please make it. And if you're just looking for a long-term project to occupy your time, also great, please do it. It is a shame it takes me so long to make it because look at them, they're just so beautiful. Each of these cardigans is so beautiful, I know it's incredibly hard to decide. What I find really cool and interesting is that naturally, a lot of crochet stuff does have this natural 70s feel. And with these cardigans, because they are naturally a little bit more oversized and boxy, you have this beautiful blend of vintage and modern, which is just, so trendy. I love it. Well, thanks for hanging out and making it to the end of this video. Hopefully this has inspired you to go make something. And if it did, which cardigan do you think you're going to try to make first? They're all so beautiful, but I am biased with the 2 rectangle cardigan because it was the first one I ever made, and you can turn it into a tank top. It's just so versatile. And if I finish the alterations to the new tank, I'll be sure to picture it here. If not, I guess you're just gonna have to come back and see if I did it. Until next time, bye!